The Scharnhorst was a German battlecruiser that was commissioned in January of 1939. The ship weighed 38,000 tons in full load and had an overall length of 235 meters. The ship was part of many operations, mainly sinking Allied merchant ships in the Atlantic. The Scharnhorst and its sister ship most notably sank the carrier, HMS Glorious, in June of 1940. The Scharnhorst served the Kriegsmarine for 3 more years until it was sunk in the Battle of the North Cape on the 26th of December 1943. This ship is fitted with 9 283mm guns in a 3-turret configuration. These guns are on the smaller side compared to other ships like the Hood that has 8 381mm guns. But the trade-off is that the smaller guns on the Scharnhorst can fire every 17 seconds with an ace crew, while other capital ships have reloads of well over half a minute. For your primary guns you have a selection of 3 shells. You only need 2 of them, the armor-piercing and the semi-armor piercing round. The armor-piercing round should be used to fight other battleships and heavy cruisers. The explosive mass of this shell and its penetration is subpar compared to other capital ships' guns, but the fire rate somewhat makes up for that. The semi-armor piercing round, on the other hand, provides twice the amount of explosive mass, but sacrifices a lot of penetration. This shell is great at dealing with lightly armored targets like destroyers or light cruisers, while also having some post-penetration damage to deal a crippling blow. But against bigger ships it will not be useful. The Scharnhorst is well equipped in terms of secondary guns. It has 12 150mm guns, 6 on each side. An ace crew can reload these guns every 7.5 seconds. These guns are only useful for fending off enemy destroyers and cruisers. You won't be able to really damage enemy battleships unless you are at very close range. I suggest that you only use the APCBC round. This round can do quite a bit of damage to cruisers and destroyers while also offering some penetration if you find yourself in a close quarters fight with a battleship. This ship also has a wide array of anti-air weapons, ranging from 34 20mm cannons to 16 37mm cannons, and for long-range anti-air it has 14 105mm guns. This combination of short and long-range air defense makes this ship well protected against any incoming aircraft. This good anti-air firepower can also save your teammates that have little to no air protection. One thing that makes this ship stand out is the fact that it has access to 14 G7A torpedoes. These torpedoes have a 360 kg explosive warhead. If you equip the torpedo mode modification, the torpedoes can have a max range of 14 km with a max speed of 56 km per hour. However, if you do not equip the modification, the torpedoes will have a max range of 6 km and a max speed of 81 km per hour. So you can pick between range or max speed depending on how you want to play. The Scharnhorst has an excellent top speed of 60 km per hour or 32 knots. This makes it one of the fastest capital ships in the game. This high speed can help you to get to caps quicker than your opponents. It's also useful if you want to disengage or put distance between you and your enemies. One thing to keep in mind is that the Scharnhorst is a massive ship, so it will accelerate very slowly. Due to the ship being very long and heavy, the turning radius will be extremely large, so if you're in an open area, always keep an eye out for torpedoes. Spotting them early will give you enough time to move out of the way. This ship has great traverse speeds on its main guns of 7.2 degrees per second. This gives you an advantage over other battleships at closer ranges. The Scharnhorst is fitted with 2 rudders, which means if one is destroyed, the ship still has the ability to somewhat turn, unlike some ships that only have 1 rudder. The Scharnhorst at times can be a very tough nut to crack. The ship has an overall good armor scheme that allows you to even absorb some of the most powerful shells in the game, but like all ships in the game, a well-placed salvo can send you back to the hangar in no time. This ship has an armored belt of 320mm. This belt alone is among the thickest in the game and is basically immune to cruiser fire. Behind the main armored belt is a thinner 45mm plate. This plate overlaps the main armored belt and provides extra protection against shells that hit below the waterline. The frontal turret armor is quite good against long-range hits, but is vulnerable at close ranges against battleship-grade guns. The angled roof armor segment is quite thin and will be easily penetrated at long range, as the incoming shells will come in at a steep angle. The side of turret only has 200mm of armor. At very close range, this can even be easily penetrated by cruiser-grade guns. The bridge of the Scharnhorst is protected by up to 350mm of armor. Keep in mind that if the bridge is destroyed, you won't be able to steer for a period of time. If we have a look at the internal armor scheme of the Scharnhorst, we can see that it has extra slope armor around the citadel of the ship. This armor is 105 mm thick and sloped at about 60 degrees in most places. The slope of this armor is very advantageous at close range, where it will deflect incoming shells easier, but at longer ranges where shells impact at an angle, it won't be as effective. This armor plate is also very important as it adds protection to the ammo racks, engines and crew in the citadel. There is also an additional 40 mm plate that runs the length of the ship. This also protects the crew against enemy fire. The Scharnhorst can take a few torpedo hits, but they will most likely cause instant flooding to your ship. If this happens, you must immediately address it, especially if you are under fire from your enemies. Crew skills in naval has a massive effect on your ship and how well it performs. As usual, it can be the difference between life or death. You will need to balance multiple crew skills, from repairing to reloads and everything in between. The Scharnhorst has rather small guns, but they have a fast reload, so maximizing it will be to your benefit. The Scharnhorst can be sunk and destroyed quickly if your pumps are damaged, so quickly patching up breaches can save your ship. Fires occur quite often in naval. Taking care of them early and effectively reduces the chances of it spreading to your ammunition and ending your game early. This ship has slow acceleration and it takes a while to get moving. This means that you will always be vulnerable to torpedoes, and this skill will help you detect them faster. In terms of modifications, you can choose different paths to go, but I will show you a path that should give you a good balance of all aspects. After researching these modifications, you can go on as you wish, but continue prioritizing modifications you think will fit your playstyle. The Scharnhorst is a well-rounded ship that can fill multiple roles. But the thing that it does the best is fighting at close ranges against its enemies. The smaller guns on this ship are much more useful at close range, and the quick reload of your guns can help you to quickly target the weak spots of the enemy. The quick traverse of your main guns also helps you to quickly switch from one enemy to another if you are threatened. The armor of the ship is suited for close-range combat, with the angled internal armor keeping your crew safe. The ship is also equipped with 14 torpedoes that have a decent amount of explosive power. I recommend that you run the torpedoes at a depth of 4 meters. This means that the torpedoes will strike lower on ships where there is less armor and where most of the ammo is stored. Against battleships and battle cruisers, you will have a slightly harder time dealing with them. But once again, your fast-firing guns can target their weak points and you will be able to outfire them. If they get too close to you, you can send a few torpedoes their way to make them regret getting too close to you. This ship is extremely effective at dealing with heavy and light cruisers, as your rapid fire allows you to quickly target their ammo racks and important components. You can also use this ship at longer ranges, but the ship is less effective in this role. At longer ranges, the 283mm guns will have less punching power compared to bigger guns. Another thing to think about is the fact that shells will impact your ship at steeper angles at longer ranges. This means that there is a chance that shells will penetrate your deck, which is only 50mm thick, instead of the armored belt, which is up to 360mm thick. There is one more thing the Scharnhorst is good at: absorbing hits. A role you can also fulfill for your team is being the main target for the enemy team. While the enemy team is focusing on you, your friendlies can target the enemy without being under constant fire, or it can help your friendlies get to spots that control the map or cap the points. Even by being the punching bag for the enemy, you can still massively contribute to your team winning.